Okay, are you ready? So in Tata, I did 28 products: Safari, Hexa, Bolt, Zest, Tiago, Tigor, Nexon, two generations, and then I joined NID in 1992. It takes us 4 years to develop a car.
लोग डरे हुए हैं एंड महिंद्रा stormed the market with
With
Mahindra
Thar.
Thar. So I was very much excited for this podcast because as a designer, as a car lover, मेरे काफी सारे सवाल थे. So let's start from NID days, right? So 1993 का NID कैसा था? आप उसके बारे में बताइए.
So I actually joined NID in 92 from after completing my 12th standard here in Mumbai. And then I joined NID in 1992. And उन दिनों NID में सिर्फ 25 लोगों की एडमिशन होती थी और इंडिया में एक ही NID था. So today there are multiple NIDs and multiple colleges, but we had only one NID in those days. so so getting in was very difficult. The interview and application process was a long one. We had to look out for a small advertisement in the newspaper. Then we had to send a demand draft. Then we would sit for the uh, let's say written exam in JJ School of Art in Bombay. There was, I think, only 4 or 5 centers in India.
Correct.
So JJ School of Art in Bombay. Then you would get called for 3-day workshop and interview
Sure.
to the Ahmedabad campus. So we would go there for 3 days.
Okay.
And around 100 people would be called for that. 3 days करके 4 या 5 batches होते थे. And from those 100, about 25 or 30 would get in. So it was quite a long process.
Well, well, still tough to get into NID, and मैं
Okay.
समझ सकता हूँ कि तब तो टेक्नोलॉजी डेवलपमेंट नहीं होगी, इतने वेबसाइट्स नहीं होंगे, इतने नोटिफिकेशन नहीं होंगे, तो और मुश्किल होता होगा. So
हाँ, आप अगर वो न्यूज़पेपर के ऐड अगर आपने मिस किया तो उस साल तो गया. आप एप्लीकेशन भी नहीं भेज पाते थे.
my
So
God.
so those days I used to look at the newspaper every day very carefully कि वो ऐड कब आएगा, कहाँ आएगा. इतना छोटा सा ऐड था पूरे न्यूज़पेपर में. So if you miss that, you miss that year's application.
My God. So you pursued MS in automobile design at Royal College of Arts in 2001, if I'm not wrong.
That's right, in London. Yeah, yeah,
This
yeah.
wasn't a common dream back then in 2000s, जब घर में बताया जाता है कि आप ऑटोमोबाइल डिजाइनर बनना चाहते हैं. So what was the reaction of the parents?
So actually, design itself was not known, right? In 91, 92, design was only known, let's say, in fashion design or architecture. ये दोनों ही फील्ड थे वैसे डिजाइन में. प्रोडक्ट डिजाइन वाज ऑलमोस्ट नॉट नोन. ग्राफिक डिजाइन वाज नोन.
Correct.
So at the NID level itself, it was difficult to convince my parents that, not difficult, but they were wondering what design is in the first place. Today the knowledge is much more, um, the awareness is much more, even amongst parents. But उन दिनों तो ज़्यादा knowledge था नहीं. आप medicine करते होते या engineering. So they knew a little bit about architecture, a little bit about fashion design, a little bit about graphic design. That's it. That was all their knowledge of design. So design itself was hard for them to imagine that you could have a career and a profession. Then I got into NID, like you said, and I worked after that, and I wanted to do a master's in automotive design, because in those days in NID or in India there was no specialized automotive design course
Correct.
at the bachelor's level. आजकल तो है, बहुत है. MIT has, Strat College has, NID itself has, IIT has. So, but in our times there was no course on automobile design, which is why I wanted to do a master's.
Perfect. So Royal College of Arts is a legendary college. As a student, how was your experience there? What do you think was the difference between teaching in India versus in London?
So, Royal College of Art, RCA as it's called, is a masters only design college. It's the only one in the world which is masters only. That means most people come there after having worked a few years, and are a certain age and experience. 27 was the average age in Royal College. So everyone had a certain level of maturity, and like I said, people had worked before. So the teaching was more actually self-taught, and learning from your peers. It's not a course where you go to study really skills or the basics. You go there to really, as the name suggests, you go there to master your abilities, especially thinking,
Correct.
intellectual abilities about design, and so a lot of it was self-taught and learned from with your batchmates. RCA again in those days used to take only 13 people per discipline. So vehicle design में 13 ही लोग थे, 13 या 14 मेरे साल में. And I learned from them actually a lot, and I'm in touch with many of them even today.
That's rare. So let's move little towards Indian mindset. So this will give audience a different perspective today. So today, 8 out of 10 designers in college think कि design is escape route from maths and science. Automobile design is a perfect marriage of art and science combined together. So पहला सवाल, अगर मैं ऑटोमोबाइल डिजाइनर बनना चाहता हूं या करना चाहता हूं और मेरी मैथ्स एकदम ही खराब है, आप इस सिनेरियो को कैसे देखते हो?
So, maths, you have to have some level of scientific and engineering thinking, because automobile is a very complex product.
करेक्ट, करेक्ट,
So how it works, what are the processes of manufacturing, what are the materials used. Automobile uses almost every material, every industrial material that you can think of. Steel, rubber, plastics, glass, different kinds of plastics, different kinds of rubbers, different kinds of glasses. So everything comes together in an automobile. So it's very fabrics. So it's very important to know how materials behave. More than the maths and the science of it, I think the knowledge of materials and processes is very important. Because if you see just the front of an automobile, I'm not talking about even the rest, just the front, where the lights are, the bonnet is, the grill is, that itself is, 6, 7, 8 different materials coming together. Each one expands and contracts differently. So you put it in the sun in 50 degrees in Jaipur or Delhi, the plastic will expand in a different way, the metal will expand in a different way, the gaps will be different. So you have to have a knowledge of this. You don't have to calculate that, because that the engineering team does, but it's good to have some knowledge of materials and processes.
लवली. सो मुझे नहीं पता कि आपको ये बैंटर आजकल पता चल रहा है कि नहीं, इंटरनेट के ऊपर बहुत सारा हो रहा है दैट मेनी डिजाइन कॉलेजेस एंड जो भी डिजाइन फर्टर्निटी में एवरीवन इज टॉकिंग अबाउट कि बच्चों की कॉम्पिटेंसी काफी शिफ्ट हो रही है. कॉम्पिटेंसीज एज इन कि दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट कि अब वो लेवल के बच्चे नहीं आ रहे हैं जितने ऑब्जर्वेशनल होते थे, जितने क्रिएटिव होते थे, डाइवर्जेंट थिंकिंग होते थे.
True.
तो इस पर्सपेक्टिव का आपको आपका क्या पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू है? बिकॉज यू मे हैव गेटिंग लॉट ऑफ एप्लीकेंट्स और पोर्टफोलियोज आपको डेली आते होंगे, ईमेल पे भर भर के आते होंगे, एंड यू हैव सीन दिस शिफ्ट इन डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ कैंडिडेट.
Yes. No, very, very good point. I think there are too many colleges today. That's my, and I always write about this even on LinkedIn, and I think there are too many colleges, and somewhere the quality suffers. um, I think a country like India does need a lot of designers, don't get me wrong, but the quality of the design education, and I'm sure other education, needs a big jump of improvement. I mean, many people who teach today sometimes haven't designed anything at all, so they have not worked in industry enough to know what really working in the industry means, and what you need to have as a student designer to be ready for industry. That means the day you graduate and you get hired, what do you do that first day at your job? What is expected of you? What are you expected to know? So I think that gap is very big, that I find
करेक्ट.
nowadays. The creativity, of course, I'm assuming that people who get into design and get into design colleges at least have some level of creativity. But you're right. Sometimes they don't even scrutinize that enough.
Correct.
Um, so yes, you're absolutely right. There's a gap between the level of people who are graduating and what is expected in a job. That's for sure. Which is why, I would suggest to students that when you go to university or you go to design college, keep your eyes and ears really open. Keep your eyes and ears open. Observe, observe, observe. See how things are made, they are put together, why they break, how long they last, what you can do better. You should always have a sense of curiosity.
Correct.
Curiosity is a very important thing for a designer. Why do people buy what they buy? Why do people buy a car? Why do they buy a car, that particular car, or any product? Why you buy a certain type of phone or clothes or shoes? It's very important to understand why people buy the things they buy,
Correct.
and what are the choices they make, what are the trade-offs they make, between someone's own budget. What are you able to give, what are you able to offer? Because India is an extremely value conscious country at any level. So even someone who's buying a Mercedes Benz for 1 crore, he will ask the dealership for 50,000 rupees of free accessories.
Correct.
So you should know, and through your education and just daily life, why people make the choices they make. You should ask also yourself, why did I buy this phone, or this pair of headphones, or this jacket, or these shoes. That also gives you an insight into how and why people make this choice of buying things. And ultimately, designers, and the difference between design and art is exactly that. Designers work for companies who make things that people will buy. Artists sometimes work for themselves, and you can put a splash on the wall. Someone values it at 10 crores, someone values it at zero. But designers are always working for a certain budget, for a certain client, for a certain company. Even if you are your own label, many fashion designers are their own label, Sabyasachi, or you look at Shantanu and Nikhil, anyone. They still have to run as a company. They still have to employ people.
Correct.
They still have to also make money. So be very, very mindful of what people buy and what they will buy in the future. Any product, I know in cars, it takes us 4 years to develop a car,
Okay.
and then the car has to be in the market for 6 years. So when you start designing a car today, you have to already think of a 10-year life cycle. What will people want in 10 years? What will be relevant in 10 years? So these are the things I would suggest that students think about.
मैं एक चीज की तारीफ करना चाहूंगा प्रताप सर, दैट सिंस यू हैव ह्यूज एक्सपीरियंस इन इंडस्ट्री, बहुत सारे इंटरव्यूज भी आपने दिए होंगे, योर आंसर्स आर वेरी क्लियर एंड क्रिस्प. आई फाइंड इट वे आई देर इज अ लैक कि जब लोग एक्सप्लेन करते हैं ना, देर इज टू मच ऑफ क्लटर इन देयर एक्सप्लेनेशन, इवन इन द फैकल्टीज इन द कॉलेजेस ऑल्सो, जब वो पढ़ा रहे होते हैं. एंड सो इट्स अ कमेंडेबल सर.
No,
सो
I just think it's very important to understand what you're making, who you're making it for, and how much money someone will pay for what you have made.
करेक्ट.
These three things actually is what design is, and
करेक्ट.
it could be a product or a service. Don't get me wrong; even a service is design, right? A lot of people talk about service design, but who is it for? Who's creating it, and what is someone willing to pay for it? Even if you download an app, you pay 199 rupees a month or 500 rupees a month. Why is someone giving you that? Why do people subscribe to Spotify? Why do they subscribe to Swiggy, to Zomato, to anything? This is because they are willing to pay you that money for that service or that product. Otherwise, you don't exist. It's as simple as that. How many companies come and go on a daily basis because someone has not thought who will buy it and what will they pay me to buy my product or service. Just remember that as a designer.
अमेजिंग. सो मैं आपको थोड़ी ट्रेजेक्टरी पे वापस लेके चलता
Sure.
हूँ. आपकी अगर ट्रेजेक्टरी देखूं ना, तो यू ज्वाइन टाटा इन ईयर 2010 as a principal designer, which is a huge debut role. And as मैं रॉयल कॉलेज से निकलने के बाद का पूरा सिनेरियो कंपेयर करूं, तो उसके बीच 10 साल का स्ट्रेट वर्क एक्सपीरियंस है, जो कि आपने अलग अलग फॉर्मेट्स में किया होगा, अलग अलग कंपनीज के साथ किया होगा। कितने एक्सपीरियंस को वेरी गुड एक्सपीरियंस माना जाता है टू लैंड इन बिग कंपनीज?
So I'll just make a couple of corrections. So after I finished NID in 98, 97, 98, and before I went to Royal College in 2001, I worked for 3.5 years in Italy
ओके,
in a two-wheeler company called Piaggio. They make scooters, Vespa,
या
etc.
वी नो।
So I had, sort of 3.5 years of experience there. Then after graduating from Royal College in 2003 till 2007, so 4 years I worked in Japan.
ओके,
So, and then I joined Tata actually in 2007, towards 2000, end of 2007, 2008. So, therefore, I had, 6, 7 years of experience of working overseas for two different companies, brands, big companies. Mercedes Benz was in Japan, and Piaggio, like I said, was in Italy. So, I had a real big desire to do something for an Indian company. And this is why I actually got in touch with Tata, managed to meet Mr. Tata himself, to try and sort of convince that I can bring something new to the company. And this is why they hired me in 2007, mid 2007. And I stayed till 2021. I stayed for 14 years. So when you going back to your question, the experience, the education is one thing. You have whatever degree you have, but the experience of living and working in Italy and then living and working in Japan, that actually was very, very important, because again you start understanding people in more depth. You are forced to understand, because you don't speak the language when you go. You don't know the customs. um, but you have to learn very fast, and that's where, as a designer, the language you have, which is the language of drawing, becomes very important. You can communicate with anyone anywhere when you can make a great picture or great drawing. And that's how I started working in these two countries, so different from each other as well, and so different from India. So when I went to Tata, I already had that experience behind me. And then they placed me in the UK, so I moved back to the UK, place I had already been because I studied there. uh, I built a team, of over 100 people from 13 or 14 different countries. So when you want to work in a large company, and most large companies are in some way international, it's very important to have some, not international experience necessarily. If you have it, that's great, but some understanding of where you fit in the world, where this company fits in the global context, because in India you have all global companies. So even if your company doesn't sell abroad, everything from abroad sells here. So it's very important to understand people and culture, like I said, who makes it for who and how much are they willing to pay. That extends, even if you tomorrow have to go to Mars, it's the same three questions you have to ask yourself. So the experience is important when you get into companies of that scale. Tata Motors had 25,000 people. Mahindra has 300,000 people in Mahindra, but in auto is about 40,000 people. So there's a lot of responsibility when you're working in these companies, because some decisions that you make can have a huge impact on employees, on their families. Many people depend on what you do, so you have to sort of take that. You have to take that weight and know how to handle that.
आपके जवाब में मुझे एक एक नई थॉट मिली। इंडिया में बहुत सारे लोग जब भी मिस्टर टाटा की बात करते हैं या टाटा की बात करते हैं, सो आई एंड मेनी पीपल इस ये एक सपना है कि मिस्टर टाटा बैठे हैं और पूरी टीम बैठी है, और वी कैन ओनली इमेजिन कि वो डिजाइन टीम के साथ क्या बातें करते होंगे। सो मैं आपका पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू जानना चाहता हूँ, व्हेन यू मेट मिस्टर टाटा, तो वो किस तरीके से ब्रीफ देते थे, हाउ हाउ उनका विजन को देखने का तरीका कैसा था? related
So
specifically design.
I'll extend your question to Tata and Mahindra both. Because on Mahindra there's Mr. Anand Mahindra, as you know. Uh, there's something really common between both of them. One is that they had an artistic education before a business. So Mr. Tata he studied architecture in the US, and Mr. Mahindra studied filmmaking.
Okay.
Before they did their MBA, they actually had a sort of design and art background. So they are both very aware of good design. Secondly, they dream very big. For them, India can go anywhere, achieve anything. I think that's very important. The size of their dream and ambition for the country, more than the company, for the country is very big, and that is something that separates them from the rest. Most companies think about themselves and what we can do and what I will get, blah blah blah. But I think what I saw in Tatas and Mahindra both is that it's about nation building and about flying the Indian flag globally. And which is why I'm working, I worked for Tata and I chose Mahindra. I could have worked anywhere, right? I could have carried on working in Italy or in Japan. But I think you have to align your own personal vision as a human being to a larger vision that any company has, and try some way to get into that company, because it'll then give you longevity. You can work 14 years in a place or 15 years in a place only because your values and the values of the employer are the same. So again, another sort of salah to students is that when you're looking for a role or for a job, you may not find it on day one, by the way. You might have to go in other companies and build your experience, but ultimately you should see where you think your personal values, not ambition, your values will fit the values of the company.
ऑलराइट, सो टाटा में जब आप डिजाइन हेड थे तो कौन कौन से प्रोजेक्ट्स में यू वर पार्ट एंड कौन कौन से मॉडल्स आपने डेवलप किए थे, ये एक बड़ा रहस्य है.
My God. Okay. So I will pull out. I made a note because the other day I won some award.
माय
So
गॉड.
they asked me for the last sort of 10 years what you have designed. So okay, are you ready? So in Tata, I did 28 products in 14 years. So there was a some concept cars and some real cars, but you all will know Safari, Hexa, Bolt, Zest, Tiago, Tigor, Nexon, two generations, Nexon EV, new Safari, new Harrier, Punch, Altroz, Sierra Concept, Intra Truck, Ultra, Signa, Prima, and new Tata Winger. These are some of the 28 products.
सर ये सब नहीं है. मतलब
So,
लाइफ में इतना सक्सेसफुल होना है कि अपने अचीवमेंट्स हमें नोट्स में लेके चलना पड़े, एक डायरी में लेके चलनी पड़े.
no, no, but very important. I was very lucky to be a part of the team which designed it. Right? I think I I can take only credit for a team I built, but the design of the products that team has done, which is incredible. The amount of work and the creativity that the team brought uh, is why I'm here today. So it's not like only my work at all. So that's very important for me to specify.
सो ये मेरा भी पर्सनल बहुत सवाल है दैट इंडियन मॉडिफिकेशन मार्केट इज ह्यूज. ये आप भी जानते होंगे. मतलब कोई भी यहाँ गाड़ी लेता है तो फर्स्ट थिंग कुछ मॉडिफिकेशन करवाएंगे. क्रोम्स, फिल्म्स कंपनी नहीं देती. एज अ डिजाइनर व्हेन यू सी अ कार व्हिच इज वियर्डली मॉडिफाइड ऑन अ स्ट्रीट, हाउ डू यू रिएक्ट?
Yeah, and in Mahindra especially, we have the Thar and the Scorpio.
करेक्ट.
Many people buy the Thar from the dealership and go directly to a modifier. So, but look, at the end of the day, it's about personal choice, right?
करेक्ट.
uh, they have done me a huge, or us a huge favor by buying the car in the first place. That's the customer pays our salary, not the company. We should always remember that the customer pays you and not your company. If the customer disappears, you have no company left. So I'm always very thankful that in the choices that people can make today, from 30, 40, 50 cars that they can buy, they have bought your product. After that, look, like I said, it's personal taste. People can painted yellow, painted orange. Where I get disappointed, let me just say, is when they modify the car for it not to be road legal. That's where I get worried. See,
Hmm.
because there's lots of legislations for safety, both of the occupant, but also of the pedestrians. So when they put the big bars, or they put a bumper in metal, if that hits somebody, a cyclist or a child, or anyone who's walking, it will, cause a huge accident in that sense. I mean, people will lose their lives. So we design things in a certain way to protect everybody, the drivers, occupants, and also who's outside, road users. That's the only place I get disappointed. So, and I say, you know you have to think about others when you make this modification. If I hit somebody, what will happen to that child, like I said, child or a cyclist or a scooter. That's the only comment I have. Otherwise, in terms of aesthetics, whatever choice, it's their product.
और आपके जब नोन में, फ्रेंड्स में, फैमिली में कोई ऐसा कुछ करता होगा तो आप वहां पे भी तो बोलते होगे?
So my mother bought a 3XO, or I got her a 3XO, and the next time I saw it, it had lots of accessories on it. So, but I didn't say anything.
ओके.
But jokes apart, we are now also in the design team designing a set of accessories. It's a big number of accessories we design, but for every car we design our own accessories now from Mahindra Design, which are safe, which are, which comply by the law, all of that. So, we are hoping that if people do choose, they choose our accessories, and then you have still something you want, but something we also, would like to promote.
परफेक्ट. सो मैं आपको थोड़ा कोविड के टाइम पे लेके चलता हूँ, जहाँ
My God.
पूरी दुनिया कोविड के शॉक में थी. कंपनीज आल्सो गॉट हिट. पीपल स्पेंडिंग कैपेसिटी वेंट डाउन. लोग डरे हुए हैं, एंड महिंद्रा stormed the market with
With
Mahindra
Thar.
Thar. People accepted the car with open arms. 11 महीने की वेटिंग है. Even in that phase, good design had the power. Was the launching time a strategic move, or did it coincidentally happened कि हम उसी टाइम पे
No,
थे?
see, in a company, you have a product plan, and you have to sometimes launch a product according to that plan, right? Because otherwise everything stops. Revenue, cash flow, all of that stops. And when this was launched in 15th August 2020, there were, phases of COVID. They were letting people out and not out. Yeah, wo, phase 1, phase 2, yeah, wo. The good thing for us in that sense was that people were locked up in their house for so long that they really wanted to get out. A lot of people realize that you have one life and live that to the max. So it was like a YOLO moment. You only live once, YOLO. And that actually helped a product like Thar, because you could take it anywhere. You can go off-roading, you can get away from the city. So in a funny way, it actually worked for us, that we managed to launch the product in the middle of COVID. And because people were locked into their house and they wanted to escape, Thar was a perfect vehicle to allow them to escape. So, it was lucky in a way, but it was all part of the plan. The timing was part of the plan. What happened around us, we couldn't control. Yeah.
ओके. आई रिमेम्बर जब इंडियन मार्केट में टेस्ला के ऑटो पायलट आने की बात हुई थी, पीपल मेड अ ह्यूज जोक ऑन इट. बहुत से जगह पर रोड्स ही नहीं हैं ऐसी टेक्नोलॉजी को सस्टेन करवा पाए, और जहां इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है वहां देर आर नो रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस. मेरा सवाल इसी पे है, हाउ डू वी डिसाइड विच टेक्नोलॉजी इज एप्ट फॉर इंडियन रोड्स?
Yeah. So, autopilot comes under a umbrella of what we call ADAS, Advanced Driver Assist Systems. And in ADAS, basically you have cameras and you have sensors, and the car can sense. So there are some very good advantages or good features of ADAS which we have brought, for example, and some other companies also. One is emergency braking. So if the car comes close to another car or a person, it brakes immediately. The other thing is, parking sensors. Then on the highway, you can control the speed. So there's some very good features of ADAS. Now, a very interesting story: the ADAS systems, they are all from overseas. So they are made in Germany, or they are made in France or Korea. And coming to your infrastructure question, so there they need to read the lines from the road, they need to read the road signs. और हमारे देश में तो कई जगह पे साइन वाइन तो है ही नहीं, रोड के लाइंस मार्किंग नहीं है, लेन है नहीं. So we have developed our own ADAS software, which also recognizes animals. So, for example, the global ADAS suppliers did not have a software which could recognize an animal like a cow or a dog. Um, so these are very, very important. So we have incorporated all of those features into our ADAS. So we've just launched the new electric cars. If you're driving and you don't brake in time, the car will brake if there's a dog in front of the car or a cycle. So we have taught that system to learn about what else can come on Indian roads. Because there won't be a dog suddenly in a road in Germany, right? Or a cow or a goat. So, or a cyclist. So, there are some really good features of ADAS which we have had to adapt to India. Going back to your question, so you can't just import from overseas, you have to make some adaptations for this country.
ये फ्रस्ट्रेटिंग नहीं होता होगा जब आप टीम के साथ बैठे हो एंड यू आर डिस्कसिंग अ मॉडल कि व्हाट्स नेक्स्ट, और फिर टीम कोई बोलता है कि यार रोड ही खराब है, सो खराब रोड को ही कंसीडर करके डिजाइन की शुरुआत करनी पड़ती होगी, या दैट शुड बी अ मेजर पॉइंट टू कीप नोटेड.
Yeah,
सो
yeah.
कितना फ्रस्ट्रेटिंग है ये, बिकॉज महिंद्रा एंड टाटाज आर नोन फॉर डिजाइनिंग कार्स विच आर वेरी गुड ऑन इंडियन रोड्स.
Yes, so actually for us, it's again not frustration because we make SUVs. Mahindra is a SUV company, and our vehicles actually perform very well
Correct.
off road or bad road or no road. कई जगह road में supposed to be a road, but there's no road. So for us, there's a lot of off road DNA which we have, which works for us in towns and cities across India where the roads are bad. So we don't see it as a problem. We, of course, make sure that the ground clearance is enough. Many foreign car companies have come here and the bottom hits the speed breaker, or because the speed breaker doesn't have a standard, kahin ऊंचा है, kahin नीचा है, kahin है नहीं है, kahin टूटा है. So we ensure that we've got enough ground clearance to handle anything in India, and that's our strength. So more than a frustration, it's actually a start point of our design.
All right. So, who design briefs in major companies? Is it higher authorities in terms of what should be next? Who is deciding it? क्या डिजाइन टीम ये फैसले ले सकती है alone?
Yeah, so it's a combination actually.
Okay,
Most companies will have a product planning team. Product planning, as the name suggests, plans the next products.
correct.
They will discuss it with the marketing team and discuss it with the design team. They give us a brief that we find that this market is emerging. 18 to 25-year-old people who have some spending power now want to buy a car, and but the size should be small because they are just learning how to drive. So they make a sort of very rough brief, and then we take that on in the design team and interpret that brief, because they have PowerPoint and data and all of that. We spoke about data and maths earlier, but we interpret that and say yes. If the typical example was a Thar one, right? We anticipated that people will want to break free, and the Thar came at the right place at the right time at the right price. That's also very important. So the product planning team will have a rough idea of where they see white spaces emerging in the market, and then we go and design the product to fill that white space. So for EVs, let me give you an example. in India, we have seen EVs up to around, between 14 to 20 lakhs. Then there's a huge gap, and then there are imported EVs at 60 lakhs. So we have seen a big gap in the market, and these two EVs which we've launched go from 20 to 30 lakhs. And it gives a absolutely world class vehicle or product in that price. If you had to buy anything with those features, it would cost you minimum 50 to 60 lakhs from imported EVs. So
Correct.
those are the kind of areas that the product planning team continuously looks for, and then design and engineering work together to create the product.
All right. So let's address the surprise element, that XEV and BE6. What a design masterpiece. uh, what was the vision? एंड इससे लिंक्ड एक बेहद जरूरी सवाल है, अगर हम बॉडी की डिजाइन की बात करें तो ये रेवोल्यूशन हमें पहले देखने को क्यों नहीं मिल रहे थे? व्हाट एग्जैक्टली हैपेंड इन दीज 5 years वेयर वी आर गेटिंग टू सी सो मच फ्यूचरिस्टिक डिजाइन फ्रॉम महिंद्रा, और बाकी सारे भी कोशिश कर रहे हैं? सो ये इन्हीं 5 सालों में कैसे हुआ?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, so we started these projects when I joined the company. So in June 2021, and we have launched it now. So in less than or just over 3 years, we actually designed the entire range of new EVs. My boss, who's the CEO of the company, had a very simple brief. You were speaking about the brief. He said, just create products that people will fall in love with, and they happen to be EV. You know, he didn't say design EVs. He said create products that people will love. And acha, by the way, ye EV hai, you know. So had we started with saying EV, 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 we would have designed it in a certain way. But because he kept the brief so open and said just make a bold vision and statement, we went all out. We did not sort of hold back at all. And this is why you got these two products, with the kind of design they have. I mean, hopefully, tomorrow the booking will open, Valentine's Day. Hopefully, people fall in love
Yes.
with these two EVs. But the brief, like you said, is very important. I can give you one very simple example. If you tell students design a chair, they will all design a chair, right? Some will have 3 legs, some will have 2 legs, some will have 4 legs. If you tell someone design something to sit on, then it can be many more things. It doesn't have to be a chair. It can be a big ball. It can be part of a tree. So how you brief a team, a design team, is very important. So if he said design an EV, we would have had the same kind of boring cars. But he said design something people will love. So every time we would see the design on paper or clay model, we would say, will people fall in love with this? We weren't thinking it's a EV, you know. And yeah, we'll know tomorrow.
डेफिनेटली सर, डेफिनेटली. सो सबसे पहला स्केच जब बनाया था, जो सबसे पहला एक होता है कि दिस इज माय
Yeah.
रफ आइडिया, सो
Yes.
ये एग्जैक्ट वही आइडिया है जो कि फाइनलाइज हुआ है, और देयर वर मेनी ऑल्टरनेटिव?
Exactly. Exactly. You're right. That's a very good question because 3 साल के डेवलपमेंट में बहुत चीजें होती हैं, चेंज होता है, either for manufacturing or cost or engineering. But when we showed the first sketches to the management, they loved it, right? And that was the criteria. Do we love it or do we not love it? They said we love it. Now please don't change anything in the 3 years that it's going to take to develop. So me and my counterpart in engineering, we got together and we shook hands and we said we will not change anything in these cars till they come out. And yesterday again we shook hands, we were together, and we said, look, we have created something really magical, and we did not change it from the vision we had. In 2022 in August, we have shown these as concept cars, and even now people ask us that is this a concept car or is it real? Even auto journalists who have been writing and driving cars for 15, 20 years, when they first saw the car, they thought it's a concept car, that ye to nahi aayega, it's impossible. And we said, no baba, this is the car we have made. so so it was a surprise, in a way.
तो ये सवाल तो मैंने बहुतों से पूछा है, एंड आई थिंक यू आर द वेरी राइट पर्सन टू आस्क, व्हाट इज अ गुड डिजाइन सर?
So, what is a good design? This again goes back to my three questions: who's going to buy it? How much are they willing to pay you? And will it satisfy their functional and emotional needs? See, what is a functional need? Functional need is to get from A to B. I can use a roller skate, I can use a cycle, I can use a bike, I can use a aeroplane, I can do whatever. That is their functional need. Now, let's say their functional need is to get from A to B, and they choose to do it in a car or in a four wheeler. Then there's an emotional need. If it's a four wheeler they have chosen, how does it make them feel? When they show it to their friends. India is a very social country, right? Dost hai, family hai. How does it make them feel when they bring that car home from the showroom the first time? Do they feel proud of it? Do they really enjoy driving and owning it? So you have to satisfy the functional side, but the emotional side is where the real design comes in. you know uh, and again, from we have shown the car for 60 days. We showed it in we unveiled in November 26th last year, and now it's in the showrooms and people are driving it. A lot of them say, we really want this car. We don't need it, but we want it because it makes us so emotional about owning something like this. I was in the showrooms all of last week. I met a lot of people who are coming in to look at the car, and they were so proud that an Indian company has created this, first of all. So it's not a functional thing only. In fact, the function they forgot. No one asked me charging time, battery ka kya hoga. They were so struck by the emotional connection. But yeah, finally they have to pay, and hopefully, we get some good bookings.
सो आप, आई एम श्योर, बहुत सारे लोगों के साथ इन टच में होंगे जो कि मर्सिडीज में या बाहर की कंपनीज को काम करते हैं, एंड आप कभी भी जब उनको अपने डिजाइन दिखाते होंगे, या जब एक आइडिया ऑफ थॉट इधर उधर का शेयर होता है, व्हाट इज देयर थॉट ऑन द डिजाइन दैट वी आर डेवलपिंग?
Yeah, so this again makes me very proud to say, uh, that as an Indian and an Indian company, a lot of my friends wrote to me. They're working in various countries, various companies, right from China to Europe to US. On 26th November, when we unveiled the cars in Chennai, lot of them wrote to me the next day that they were absolutely shocked and surprised by what we had done. Concept car to theek hai, wo to August 22 mein dikhaya, everyone liked it. No one believed that we would bring these cars to reality. There's a lot of companies show concepts, right? And then people forget, they themselves forget, and they bring something else. We When we brought it, they were saying that, we have taken pictures of this and we have put it on our inspiration board in the studio. That made me very, very happy, because it used to be the opposite. We used to put pictures of foreign cars and products. Now overseas companies are using these as inspiration board images. So it made me feel very proud. Yeah. Yeah.
So which car do you own, sir?
So unfortunately, because I live in the UK, I don't have a Mahindra car yet. But through my Tata days, and even now, so I've got an electric car. I have an electric Audi, which I really like. I think electric cars are really truly the future, and I've been using it now for 2 years or so. Uh, but when Mahindra comes with, when we enter the UK market, I will definitely get the Mahindra.
Perfect, perfect. So the way people are pursuing design, especially in vehicle design, what is your take on hiring fresh talent straight from college?
Yeah, and we do that. Actually, we do that. There's a sense of freshness that they bring. You know, that's very important. They have new skills. A lot of them can do sketching. They can do blender modeling. They can make animation films. So we choose people who have multi talent. Uh, and this is what I'm seeing more and more. That that we are getting students who graduate, the ones we choose or the ones we hire, are multi-skilled. They're able to speak very well, they're able to draw very well, they're able to, like I said, make computer models. From the computer model they can make clay model, from the clay model they can make an animation. So they know the way to tell the story. Ultimately design is a story, right? uh, what does a product say about itself? And this is what, so again, storytelling is a very important part of our job.
अमेजिंग. सो अगर आज कोई ऑटोमोबाइल डिजाइनर बनना चाहता है और वो लेट्स से क्लास 11th में पढ़ता है, उसे क्या स्टेप्स फॉलो करने चाहिए?
So definitely study design. I would say study product design, actually, because you really learn a very wide it's a very wide area of studies. But then do a masters in automotive. I usually suggest, because many kids write to me, what should we study, yeah, well. So I always say study product design in a good college, and then do a masters in automotive. And even if you're studying product design, you can choose sort of automotive products through your product design education. So I would suggest that study PD or industrial design, and then specialize in automotive design, either in India, or if you get a chance, go abroad. Do it that way.
सो अगर आज आप 19 ईयर ओल्ड प्रताप से मिलेंगे तो उसको क्या एडवाइस देंगे?
uh the advice I would give would be, keep dreaming, and keep following your dreams, because that's exactly what I did then, because there was no profession called automotive design, imagine. But I stuck to it. So if I met that same 19-year-old, I would say, please do exactly what you're doing, do it again. Follow and chase that dream, but you have to work very hard. The dream doesn't become real just by thinking about it, right? A lot of people say manifestation vagera, but you have to work very hard for that manifestation to happen. You have to make opportunities, grab those opportunities, make the best of any chance you are given. These are some of the things I would tell my 19-year-old self.
ऑल राइट, सो माय फाइनल क्वेश्चन, एंड उसके बाद हम कुछ स्टूडेंट के क्वेश्चन लेंगे. दैट, डू यू थिंक दैट बीइंग प्रताप बोस इज अ मैटर ऑफ हार्ड वर्क, लक और कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ बोथ?
Oh my god, it's a huge combination of both, and especially luck in towards later part of your career. In the beginning, early part of career, it's a lot about hard work. But then they say hard work makes good luck. And if I see all the critical points in my life, it's about luck, right? To see the ad in the paper, you could have had the bad luck, उस दिन वो paper नहीं आया, या आपने नहीं देखा paper, I would have missed it, right? So however hard you work, if you miss the luck of seeing the advertisement of NID, you wouldn't have applied that year. Then going to NID, you work very hard, of course, to be the best you can be. Then what are the opportunities you get after that? I got a chance to go to Italy. It was pure luck.
करेक्ट.
It was supposed to be for 6 months, and I stayed for 3.5 years. That was hard work. So luck and hard work are sort of, they make each other in a way. Hard work makes good luck as well. But you can't rely only on hard work and only on luck. I think you do need a combination.
ऑल राइट.
Okay, that was a very quick 1 hour.
यस, सो मैं एंड में कुछ बोलना चाहूँगा दैट थैंक यू सो मच फॉर टेकिंग आउट टाइम सर. और मैं
Not at all.
बहुत कुछ था जो मेरे दिमाग में चल रहा था व्हाइल आई वाज लिसनिंग योर आंसर्स, एंड मैं एक चीज बोलना चाहूंगा दैट ह्यूमन काइंड के इतिहास में बहुत कम ही लोग ऐसे होते हैं. आई थिंक ऑटोमोबाइल इज द वन ऑफ द बेस्ट इन्वेंशंस दैट वी डिड इन द हिस्ट्री ऑफ मैनकाइंड, कि आज हम एक जगह से दूसरे जगह जा सकते हैं. एंड और कई बार जब हम यूजुअली जब नॉर्मल ब्रेन से सोचते हैं कि यार इसमें और क्या हो सकता है, वी डोंट गेट द आंसर्स कि यार इससे तो बेहतर नहीं ही हो सकता है. एंड देन कम पीपल लाइक यू जो कि उस संभावना को ढकेलते हैं, नहीं बहुत कुछ हो सकता है. द फर्स्ट थॉट स्टार्ट फ्रॉम कि बहुत कुछ हो सकता है, सो दो किस्म के लोग होते हैं मेरे हिसाब से, मेरे अपने अनुभव के हिसाब से। एक बोलते हैं कि यार और कुछ नहीं हो सकता, और दूसरे होते हैं कि यार बहुत कुछ हो सकता है। हो सकता है कि उस व्यक्ति के दिमाग में भी कुछ नहीं है कि क्या हो सकता है, लेकिन ये जो
Yes,
संभावना है कि बहुत कुछ हो सकता है, यही इंसान को इस मुकाम पे लेके आती है कि हम कल एक जोरदार ईवी मार्केट में लॉन्च करने वाले हैं। आई एम श्योर सर वो फटने वाला है, बिकॉज़ मैंने जिसको भी वो डिज़ाइन दिखाया है, जिसको भी रिव्यू दिखाया है, सब पागल हो रहे हैं। आई विल
thank you.
शेयर रिव्यूज़ ऑफ स्टूडेंट आल्सो, एंड मेरे बहुत सारे लोग हैं जो कि इंडस्ट्री में वर्क करते हैं, एंड मेनी पीपल हैव शोरूम्स एज़ वेल। तो मैं उनको भी पूछूँगा कि कैसा रहा रिव्यूज़, क्या है? बाकी तो आप यूट्यूब पे देखते ही रहोगे, यू विल हैव एवरी बिट्स ऑफ information and news. लेकिन सर वी नीड पीपल लाइक यू हु इज कॉन्स्टेंटली थिंकिंग अरे अभी तो बहुत कुछ हो सकता है, अभी तो कुछ भी नहीं हुआ। सो
Absolutely.
ये संभावना जब आप लोगों के अंदर जिंदा रखते हैं, सो वी एज अ डिजाइनर हमें भी ये हौसला होता है कि नहीं, देयर इज समवन आउट देयर जो कि कमान संभाले हुए है और हम बहुत आगे जा पाएंगे। आई पर्सनली हैवंट सीन बेटर ईवी देन एक्सईवी सर। सो ये मेरा पर्सनल ओपिनियन है दैट इट्स अ फैबुलस डिजाइन। इट्स नॉट बिकॉज ऑफ कि आप पॉडकास्ट में आए हैं, इट इज ऑल्सो बिकॉज कि आई हैव अ लव एंड पैशन फॉर कार्स, एंड मैं
Lovely.
बचपन से देखता रहा हूँ। मेरे फैमिली में सारे लोग कार्स के दीवाने हैं। माय ब्रदर इज अ कार फैन, एंड ही इज आल्सो सेइंग कि यार क्या बनाया है। एंड वही वाली बात
Thank you.
कि आपको बहुत सारे लोगों ने बोला कि ये तो प्रोटोटाइप लग रहा है। मुझे भी पहले वैसा ही लगा था कि ये प्रोटोटाइप एड जैसी एवी है। मुझे नहीं लगता कि कमर्शियल मार्केट में उतर पाएगी, इंडियन रोड सस्टेन कर पाएंगे कि नहीं। बट यू हैव आंसर्ड एवरीथिंग। थैंक यू सो मच फॉर जॉइनिंग अस प्रताप सर।
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you to your students and all the best to all of you. Keep dreaming. I think, what you just said, the possibility, sambhavna, that is only when you can dream. If you don't dream, you can't be a designer. So I think the D in designer is also is a dreamer and a doer. So dream and do. So with that, I, will leave you today, but all the best to all of you.
सो ऑल द वेरी बेस्ट टू यू सर, एंड
Thank you.
कॉन्ग्रेचुलेशंस, क्योंकि मुझे पता है कि कल धमाका मचने वाला है। ठीक है, एंड वी आर ऑनर्ड कि हमें आज ही आपसे बात करने का मौका मिला, और कल वैलेंटाइंस में सब आपके गाड़ी के दीवाने हो जाएंगे। आई डोंट नो कि
Thank you.
मुझे लगता है कि कल कैफे सारे खाली रहेंगे, शोरूम के बाहर ही लोग भीड़ लगा के लाइन लगा के खड़े रहेंगे।
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
थैंक यू सो मच।
Thank you all.
थैंक
Thank you.
थैंक
Bye,
यू। बाय
everyone.
बाय बाय।
Bye.